Okay, all right. Well, thank you for the introduction, Sarah. Yes, I'm the head of the Native Plants in Schools Committee, but probably most importantly, I'm a mom, and that's how I got really involved with bringing native plants to schools. I've been spending the last 4 years at my two daughters' schools working at gardens there. So it started when my youngest daughter, Hazel, was still in elementary school here in San Antonio, and I helped convert 13 raised garden beds that had been there for years and had kind of become overrun with weeds. They hadn't been used for several years. I helped clean those up and turn them into a native pollinator garden. I have some photos from that I can share at the end of the meeting. And currently, now I have my daughters are growing up, and my youngest is now an eighth grader, and I have a high schooler as well. And I'm helping at my eighth graders middle school as the campus improvement chair on our PTA. And for that, we have several gardens throughout the campus at Eisenhower Middle School. And I help maintain those. And I bring students together on the weekends for garden work days. So that's a lot of fun. And I'll share some photos of that a little bit later as well. But I wanted to introduce you to our committee. We've got a great Native Plants in Schools committee with members from across the state. A lot of them are past educators, parents. So we've got a lot of great perspectives. The last few there listed as prairie leads. They aren't full-time committee members, but they have been recruited to help with a pocket prairie project we have going on this year, which I will be sharing. And we're always looking for new members. So if you're interested in helping with the Native Plants in Schools Committee, you can absolutely reach out to me, and we'd be happy to have you. We meet about once a month on Zoom and working on our various initiatives that I want to share tonight. So why do we have a Native Plants in Schools committee to begin with? I think we all understand that nature is incredibly important for our kids, and these days they get very little time during the school day to spend in it. I know with my daughters, when they were in elementary school, they maybe had a 15-minute recess during the day, not much more than that. And now that they're in middle school and high school, they're really only outdoors during their passing period. So not a lot of time to be out in nature. So if there's any chance to get them to see pollinators, to see gardens in bloom on their school grounds while they're those precious moments outside, I think that's a win. And then finding other opportunities for kids to be outside outside of the school hours working in the gardens is well worth it because there's been a lot of studies that show that getting kids outside has a really positive effect on their mental health and their physical health. It improves focus, reduces stress, helps them be better problem solvers, increases creativity, pretty much all the things that gardening does for us as adults, it does for kids too. So trying to find ways in today's busy world to help kids reconnect with nature is what our goal is. And what I found personally in my work with students is that kids love to dig in dirt. They love to get their hands dirty. If you give them a task, they're going to do it. And whether it's watering plants, digging holes, building garden beds, kids really enjoy that. And it's something that they don't often get to do. So we shouldn't take for granted just how little experiences they've had doing these kind of things. I've had a couple middle schoolers ask me when planting if they need to take the plant out of the plastic pot from the nursery before they put it in the hole in the ground. So something that we would think would be pretty obvious isn't necessarily to these kids that have never done something like that before. So all these opportunities are super beneficial for kids. And why a native plant garden and not a vegetable garden? I mean, I think most schools, when they think of starting a garden, they tend to think of like a vegetable or herb garden, which is great. But native plants have a lot going for them that I think are specifically suited for the school environment. One is that they're easier to grow. Certainly for me, I can't grow any vegetables successfully here in Texas, but I think we all can agree natives are easier for beginning gardeners. They're pretty foolproof. The ability to bring colorful blooms to a campus, especially if it's primarily turf grass and maybe rock or mulch on the playground. Obviously, when you have the blooms, you bring in the pollinators. And a lot of our native plants are those hardy perennials that you can plant once and then enjoy for several school years to come. It's not like vegetables where you have to plant them each season. And then probably the most important benefit is that they're drought tolerant. And I found this to be one of the most important features for a school garden that's not getting tended super regularly, especially over the summertime. They need to be hardy and drought tolerant plants. So our natives have a lot going for them, as you all know, and the best thing that they can do is they bring the schoolyard to life because of their ability to attract all of our favorite pollinators and birds and things. So in case you needed a reason to plant natives, but I think you guys are already sold on that. So tonight I want to talk about some of the things that we're working on in the committee and some resources we have for you all. So we'll go over what's already available on our website in terms of resources. I'll talk a bit about our Force of Nature competition. We just launched the second um, installation of it. We're our second year of the competition, and I'll share some results from the first year. And then our new Pocket Prairie program, which we're just getting started on. So if you haven't seen this page on our site, you should definitely check it out. It's on the main, if you go to the homepage of the Native Plant Society's website and you go to programs, you'll see Native Plants in Schools as one of our programs, and that'll take you to this landing page. And the QR code here will take you directly there as well. But that will give you some of these thumbnails that you can explore. And I'm going to talk about each of these a little bit tonight. But we've got a lot of great resources on this landing page. A couple that you can't see we have as well as a list of grant opportunities for schools and a list of native plant and nature related books, a reading list for kids. So those are also available on our resource page. So one of our main helpful pieces of information is what we're calling our School Garden Starter Guide. And it's a PDF that you can download. It's, I think, about 10 pages long. And it just pretty much walks a school through all the steps they need to take to start their own native plant garden. We give them some tips, some watch outs, some things to consider, and also some of our favorite plants that seem to perform well pretty much in most of the state. We have some, we note where, like, if you live in Houston, you'd want to have a different plant than the one we have listed, but it's a pretty foolproof list for schools. Most of those plants are blooming during the school year, so students can enjoy them. We also have a simple set of instructions for building a raised garden bed. So just some handy things that we think would be helpful if a school is starting from scratch. So feel free to take a look at that and download it. And if you have a school that you know would be interested in starting a garden, you can give that to them. And one of the main reasons we created that guide is because we wanted to address some of the main reasons why school gardens fail and hopefully have them succeed instead. So a few of the main areas that we see where schools need help. Number one is just having a real champion at the school that can provide consistent oversight. This often starts with a teacher that's passionate about gardening and nature. But that can also get hard year after year. Perhaps a teacher changes school or their schedules are obviously very busy. So it's a lot for the teacher to add that responsibility on top of their schedule during the day. So one thing that we recommend is, in addition to having a teacher champion at schools, is to have some parent involvement. And if the school has a PTA, that's a great opportunity to have them play a role. They can even, like in the case of the PTAs at my daughter's school, have a position on their board that is specific to helping maintain the school garden. So that's a great way to get parent volunteer involvement as well and keep that position consistent year over year. Watering is another number one must have for gardens to succeed. First of all, we want schools to make sure that wherever they put in their garden, that there's an accessible source of water nearby. That's crucial. As we know, natives still need to be watered pretty well the first year as they're getting established. And that's particularly the case over the summer. So when school's out, there needs to be a plan for watering at least every couple weeks or so during the hottest part of the summer. Weeds are a problem, obviously, with raised beds and school gardens, and so we give them tips on how to use cardboard and mulch to help cut down on some of the weeding required. And then just lack of plant knowledge, someone might be passionate about starting a garden, but not know a whole lot about what are the best native plants for their local area. So that's where we as NIPSOT members can help provide guidance and serve as mentors. So those are just some of the watch outs if you are going to work with a school on installing a garden, that you just want to make sure you're aware of those and address those things. Some of our other resources, we have a simple presentation that you can download called Native Plants Rock. It's geared toward kids. So if you're ever asked to go speak to a classroom or if you're a teacher that wants to use this with your students, you can download it and customize it however you want for your own use. But that's free for everyone to use. Just introduces kids to why native plants are important and what their benefits are. And then lastly, we have a lot of links to activities and curriculum related to native plants and insects and a variety of nature topics, pollinators, soil, water, ecosystems. So what we've done is taken a lot of great content that's already out there, created by some of our fellow partner organizations like the Native Prairies Association of Texas, National Wildlife Federation, Nature Conservancy. So many of these organizations have already created great resources for students. So rather than us trying to recreate the wheel and create our own, we've just curated a list and have it on our website. So you can find an activity that meets your needs. So check that out. Just this week, we've also added some STEAM activities that are fun involving native plants. So I won't go through those in detail, but that's also on our activity page. And then we have a couple downloadable things that you can do as well. One is called Nature Detective, and this was an idea by one of our Native Plant Society members, Doris Haston. She used this with a school where they had some gardens and they put some posters around the school asking kids to be a nature detective and see if they can spot these different things in their garden, just to help them become more observant and aware of what's actually going on. So for instance, they had a couple chickadees hanging out around their school garden. So they included this poster here on the left saying, "You'll hear them before you see them because they're so noisy. They like sunflower seeds and are often at the hanging feeder near the observation house." So just some little hints and things that kids would enjoy at trying to spot the chickadees, and similarly the Gulf fritillary butterfly there on the right. So that's just an idea that you can customize for your garden so that students will pause a little bit and start to explore and see what all is happening rather than just walking by. We also have a scavenger hunt. Kids love scavenger hunts. So we have a butterfly one that you can download with some of our common Texas butterflies. Nature journaling, of course, is always a simple activity to get kids outside, observing things in the garden. And then anytime you can use an app is a win with kids. So obviously we have iNaturalist and Seek, which is its more kid-friendly version. So if a school is able to download Seek onto their iPads that the kids use, that's a fun way for them to get outside and use it to identify insects and plants. And this is a picture from Bolt Elementary School here in San Antonio. I think they use their Seek app quite a bit. So those are just some ideas of some activities and resources that we have available on our website. So definitely take advantage of those. The last one actually that I wanted to share is some garden signage. I think anytime you have a school garden, signage is a great way to make it more educational so kids know what to look for, what they're looking at. This is an example of some signs I made for my daughter's elementary school. So we had Turk's cap, and I would often see hummingbirds on the Turk's cap. So I made a sign that said, "Can you spot a hummingbird? They love to drink nectar from red tube-shaped flowers. This plant is called Turk's cap." So trying to meet students where they are and talk to them in a way that they can understand and get them interested in things. So we have one for the bumblebee and mealy blue sage. And then probably the most popular plant in the school garden is Greg's mist flower when it's covered with queen butterflies. So some more ideas. And Eventually, I'd like to get some signage like this, some templates on the website so people can download them and customize them as well. We don't have those available yet. All right, now I'm going to switch over to our Force of Nature competition. So we just launched the 2025 to 26 competition this last week. You probably saw an email about that. It is a competition for middle schoolers to do native plant research, and we like them to do it as a team. So the idea is for schools, whether they're a public school, private school, home school, even a club, anything involving middle schoolers, to form a team by September 30th and to register it with us. And then they get to pick a research topic, really anything they want, as long as it's related to Texas native plants. And then they have all the school year to conduct their research. And then all we ask is that they put their findings in a presentation for us, like a slideshow type of presentation, by the end of March. And the winning team receives a trophy, a $300 garden grant, and some native plant books for the library. And that QR code there takes you to the Force of Nature landing page on our website. So just to tell you a bit about last year's competition, we were really kind of winging it in terms of how the competition would play out. And it was a great experience. We had initially 21 teams register at the start of the school year, which you can see here. We had a good spread across the state of different schools that registered. The ones that are bolded, 6 of them were the ones that ultimately submitted a research project at the end of the year. So we didn't have a large percentage of teams complete the project for a variety of reasons. I think the school year got away from them, things happened, just took priority over the project. And also some schools were starting, say, a native plant garden from scratch and just didn't have the plants mature enough where they could use them for research yet. So that's something that we've kept in mind and try to adjust a bit this year to make it more doable for the schools. And we're hoping a lot of these schools will continue with us in this year as well with their projects. So of the 6 that entered, these are the summary of what they studied. So you can see there's a variety here. We had Edison Middle School look at different edible native plants, and they created a garden of edible native plants. Sauceda they compared plants in 2 different garden beds, one that was amended with compost and the other that had potting soil, to see what difference there was in the plant growth between those 2 beds. United Middle School tested out different techniques for germinating native milkweed. Advanced Learning Academy researched how different native plants can be used as dyes to dye fabric. Shine Home School, they built a native plant garden and observed pollinators and wildlife that visited. And then Selwyn School created 3 different wildflower bed plots and changed the way that they prepped each of those beds. So for one bed, they just scattered seeds directly into the existing grass. The other bed they cleared, and the third bed they solarized. So they tried 3 different methods to see how the germination of the wildflowers differed. So that just gives you a sense for how fun and varied the topics can be. And the winner last year, you may have heard this, was the 6th grade STEM class at United Middle School. Here's a picture of them with their trophy and their books that we sent them. We put a little book plate on the inside with the Native Plant Society logo, try to make it special for them to be our first official winners. And their project was the one that looked at the different germination techniques for milkweed. So I just had copied in a couple of their final presentation slides just to show you their creativity and how they presented their project. This is the 6 methods that they came up with. They had a control group. They tried coating seeds with root powder before planting them, cold stratifying seeds, scarifying seeds in 2 different ways, and then just scattering seeds outside and leaving them alone to see how effective that would be. And we really encourage the students that participate in our research contest to kind of use the scientific method when they're planning their projects. So we want them to form a hypothesis and use that and test that with their research. So this team's hypothesis was that the root powder would be the most effective for the milkweed to grow. And they use Isotes milkweed for their experiment. And then they came up with their data. So they had 4 groups of students. Each of the 4 groups tried all 6 methods. And then I think they tallied up here how many seedlings they got from each method. And it looks like they had the most success with the rooting powder, which I found very interesting. Second was a control group where they didn't do anything. And then the third was either the cold stratify or actually just throwing them outside. So that's the type of research that we're looking for the students to enter the competition. We want them to present their information or their project in a clear and logical way. We want them to get creative with how they present it, really outline the steps they followed and the data that they use to inform their research. And I think the United Middle School is a great example of how to do that well. So excited to see what we get this year. We would love to have more teams enter, and we would love to have your support in helping us both recruit teams from your local middle schools, but also serving as a mentor, because our goal is to have every team paired with a mentor from the Native Plant Society. Nothing time consuming at all, but just someone that they can reach out to for advice, say if they're trying to select plants for their garden, what type of plants would do best in your local area, maybe some resources or books about their topic, things like that, where we can give them a helping hand. So think about that. And if we do have some schools in your area that sign up, we'll be reaching out to you all and asking for some mentors. All right, our last initiative is something that's just getting off the ground. We have 6 elementary schools across the state of Texas that are participating in a Pocket Prairie program. So we received a $6,000 grant from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation last year, and with the goal of installing pocket prairies at 6 different schools around the state. And the committee identified these schools listed here using the criteria of having a chapter and an individual at the chapter that was willing to kind of spearhead the project with a local school there. And then we sought out schools and in at-need areas. Schools that didn't have an existing garden was another criteria. We wanted this to be something exciting and new for them. And so these are the schools that we're partnering with for this first round. This is kind of like a pilot program to see how it goes. The timeline that we're following is we met with the schools last spring before school got out. Some of them we were able to solarize over the summer. So the picture here on the right is from the school that we're partnering with in San Antonio. We put down heavy black plastic and left that there all summer long. And then here in the next couple months, we'll be further preparing the sites and installing the pocket prairie, scattering seeds and installing some transplants. And we'll also be working with the schools to help educate the students on what is a prairie and why are we doing this and what is it going to be like once it starts to grow. So we're creating some educational materials as well. Our goal is that this is a collaboration between the Native Plant Society and the students and the teachers, so everyone's getting involved in the prairie. And it's going to be a longer term collaboration. Our hope is that it'll be the next 2 school years, so that we have time for the prairie to fill in and mature and get the kids out enjoying it and exploring what's growing there. So that is our goal. We are lucky to have the Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation as a partner in this. They've very generously provided 2 metal signs for each of the schools. So on the left, that's what the signs will look like. It shows kind of the prairie with some milkweed when it's in bloom, but also what a prairie looks like when it's more dormant. So people understand that it's important to keep up those dormant plants to provide habitat and shelter for insects and wildlife. And our committee has helped develop this Pocket Prairie Nature Journal. It's really a workbook for the students at the participating schools. So they'll get a workbook with lots of great activities to learn about native plants and prairies. So super excited about this initiative. This is our first time trying it out to see how it goes, and we'll keep you all posted. We're still very early on in the process, but looking forward to seeing how, yeah, to seeing the pocket prairies come together for sure. All right, and then I just wanted to end with some ideas or ways that you can get involved. So, as I said, we would love to have you share our school garden starter kit, and this isn't helpful just for schools. If there's any organization or club that you know of that wants to start a native garden, I would check that out. I think it can be helpful. Encourage you to offer to speak to a classroom about native plants, and feel free to use that presentation we have available. Help us form some Force of Nature teams. We have through the end of September to get registered. And lastly, like I said, we'd love to have you as part of the committee. So feel free to email me. That you can use that email address below, or Healey.Giambalvo@NIPSOT, either one. I'd be happy to talk to you about joining. That's all I have. I can go through some garden examples if you want, or if we want to leave time for questions, whatever you all want. Hopefully you can still hear me. Anyone there? Let's see. I see a question in the chat. Ron asked, does a new state law on phones impact the programs that depend on Seek and iNaturalist? Honestly, that's a really good point. It could. That is probably a possibility. Now, I know schools still will use iPads and Chromebooks and stuff. So if they're able to use those that are, the school's property, they may still be able to use those for a learning exercise. But yeah, I know for sure that probably having their kids having their own phones out probably isn't going to work. Good point. Unless you did something after school or on the weekend. So with my middle schoolers, our work days are on the weekends, and they get service hours for that. So that's an idea too, to do outside the classroom.
Hello,
Hey,
Arlene from Williamson County. And
hi.
in I don't know how long ago, forever ago, we were involved with, kids gardening and things. And I just want to compliment you and your committee. Oh my gosh, it is amazing what you all have done. Uh,
Thank you.
so beyond our little $200 and hand holding little for
Oh,
these.
that's great too. All of that's important, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, I do want to thank you. It's been wonderful. And I do enjoy having the ability to visit other chapters Zooms. So keep that going for us. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Right all.
Okay, so I see another question from Jean. Hi, Jean. She said, for school contact, you start the principal. That's a great question. I would say yes. I think that's a great place to start. And they might have a teacher in mind that they think would be a good kind of champion for that. Maybe a science teacher. Sometimes it could be the librarian. It just really depends. There might be a garden club already at the school. Um, they would know, if a PTA might be an option there. So yeah, I think starting at the principal is the way to go, unless you know someone already that is a teacher at the school. Any other questions? If we have a few minutes, I'm happy to show you the some pictures from my daughter's schools. I just left that. I didn't know how much time we had, so I didn't want to do that. But if everyone's still on the call, it might take 5 minutes to just show you some pictures. Um, let's see here. All right. So this is my daughter's elementary school, Hebner Elementary in San Antonio. That's not my daughter there. That was another student, but this was what they looked like after COVID. There was 13 raised beds that had completely become overgrown with Bermuda grass and sunflowers and China berry trees, all sorts of things. So another mom, this little girl's mom, asked if I would help her clean them up and get them back to a school garden. So she had a landscaper come and help clear out all of the existing vegetation, and then we put in primarily Texas native pollinator plants um, a few years ago, and really quickly after putting them in the bed, we saw the Bermuda start to creep in and a bunch of weeds to sprout with that bare soil around there. So we went ahead and added cardboard and mulch, as you can see in this bottom right picture, after the plants were already in the beds. Just, we placed it all around, and that just cut down significantly on the weeding. Of course, anytime you put a raised bed on Bermuda, that Bermuda is going to sneak into the bed. So I would really warn against doing that. These beds have been there for a long time, and even with the cardboard, the Bermuda grass still would come in around the edges. So just a word of caution there, but it did help tremendously. Um, a year or so after we started the garden, a lot of the beds were really deteriorating. You can see on the left side. So we had a work day on the weekend where we built new beds. And this is the technique that we share in the school starter guide. It's something I had seen on Instagram, but it just involves a cement, like it's called a castle block in each of the four corners. And then 8 foot long pieces of wood. So you need three of them, and you cut one of them in half, so it's 4 foot long for the ends. And you literally just slot the boards into the notches on the castle blocks, and you have a bed. You don't have to use any tools. It's a really handy way to build a garden bed. And if you want to make it taller, then you can just stack another castle block on top and then repeat the process. So there's a picture of the families ripping up the old beds, and we were able to put in all 13 new beds in just a couple hours. It was a really fast process. So highly recommend that if you're looking to build some garden beds. And then that's a picture of how it looked. It was really beautiful. So many pollinators. All was going well for the 2 or 3 years that I was working on it until the district cut off the water. I don't know what happened. I never got a clear answer on why the water was cut off outdoors. I don't think it was because of us. I think they were having some issues with it. But unfortunately, the plants just have really struggled since. Some of them are hanging on. I don't work at the garden myself anymore since my daughter is now in middle school, but it's just a watch out. These things happen, unexpected things like the water being shut off. So, but it was beautiful when it was at its prime for sure. And here's some pictures of the students. They loved the mistflower. It was really fun when it was covered with butterflies, especially the queens, and the monarchs would be there too in the fall. So that's a great school plant. And now where I'm at, my daughter's middle school is Eisenhower, and there's a great program that was started before I came there to get kids involved on the weekends with campus improvement. So it's an older school. I think it's been there since the 60s, and it could use a real facelift, the buildings and everything themselves. But we tried to beautify it with the gardens and with regular trash pickup. Trash is a problem at our school, and so we need to have regular trash cleanup days. So about once every month or two, we have a Saturday morning work day where we'll get 30, 50 kids come out, their parents come out, and we do gardening and campus improvement. So that's just a really great program that you could help a middle school start. We have a lot of outdoor courtyards with giant live oaks and things. So it's a really neat kind of outdoor setting. And I've been trying to put as many native plants in as I can while my daughter's at school there. So on the bottom right is our pollinator garden. That's grown in completely since this photo was taken. We have a lot of shade. So there's a lot of Turk's cap, sea oats, inland sea oats, beautyberry, those kind of things growing. Here's some of our students on the work days. They have their buckets to clean up trash. We've got some kids building a bird feeder there. That was fun. I try to keep that filled regularly. And then this was a big project that we tackled a couple years ago. So at the back of the school, they had these raised beds and this beautiful mural that was done in 2017, but the beds hadn't been used for a while. And once again, they got taken over with Bermuda grass. And so we decided, since this area was covered on all four sides with sidewalk in the building, that we could solarize the entire area and get rid of the Bermuda grass. So we took out the existing raised beds. And then this is in April that year, we laid down the solarization plastic, we secured it really well, and then let it just bake all summer long. It's south facing, like full sun area. It gets really hot. And that fall, we were able to remove the plastic, and we had a great blank canvas to sow wildflower seeds. We made a walking path through there. And we scattered a bunch of seeds from Native American seed, and we also added some transplants. And we had some good rain that fall and winter, which helped. And I tried to keep it fairly regularly watered so the seeds would germinate. And then here it is, kind of early spring as things start to take off. Things are starting to grow in. I did put these signs up because that's another watch out. The district mowers that come through with their weed whackers and their mowers, they don't really know if something's a garden or not. And even with these signs and flowers that were 2 or 3 feet tall, I had a section of this mowed down earlier this year. So you can never be too cautious with your signage. The more the better to try to prevent things being mowed. But this is what it looked like in the late spring that first year and through the summer. It was absolutely gorgeous. So many blooms. We were able to make bouquets to give to the teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week. Just a lot of fun uses for the flowers. And we've had a whole nother year since then, and it reseeded really well. We didn't get as much rain the second year at the right time, so it wasn't as lush, but it was still a really beautiful garden this past year. And here are some of the cool pollinators that we've been logging through iNaturalist. We have a project for our school to capture those. All right, those were my examples I wanted to share. I'll stop my. That's it for me. If anyone has any other questions, please speak up. Thank you, everybody. Sarah, are you there? Do you need anything else from me? Oh, I think you're muted. I can't hear you, Sarah. I'm sorry, you're muted. Okay.
Here, can you hear me now?
Yes.
We have a little echo in the room.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay. We do have a few more minutes. If you wanted to show that PowerPoint presentation, I know it's a shorter presentation. We might have time for that, but otherwise, thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Are you referring to the Native Plants Rock presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up.
Maybe just, it would show, you could demonstrate how people can find it
Yeah, let me do that.
and then maybe click through. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen again. So I'm at the Native Plant Society homepage, and then you go to programs, and then we're right here, Native Plants in Schools. So that takes you to our landing page. So I said there's the starter guide. So if you click on this, you'll be able to download it. That's here. We have some examples, some school garden examples. If you click on that, you'll see those. The presentation, our curriculum list. So let me just click into here real quick, and then I'll show you the presentation. So there's, got to click one more time, and that's when you get the list of all the different activities by topic. There's quite a lot. If you go back and scroll down here, we've got links to native plant coloring books, to some fun YouTube videos related to native plants, some information about the native plant art contest that the Trinity Forks chapter has done. And then, as I said, here's the new list of STEAM-related projects. So yeah, that's all there. And then if I go back to the landing page, we also have our book list. I'll click into that. So we've got them kind of organized by ages, preschoolers to high school. Or middle school. We need some more middle school recommendations. We just have the Nature's Best Hope book for kids, but there's got to be some other good ones out there for middle schoolers. So I need to beef that up. If anyone knows of any good ones, let me know. And then our garden grants page, which just has some links to some grants that we're aware of for school gardens. And then the presentation, I think, if you click on this, it takes you to a Dropbox. So I'll just kind of scroll through. So what are native plants? It talks about how native plants have been here for thousands of years before humans, that humans have been bringing plants across the world for a long time, and some are introduced intentionally and some are introduced accidentally. And why are native plants important? And we talk about these three things: providing food, and increasing biodiversity, helping conserve water. Native plants are the foundation of a healthy ecosystem. Then we talk about some of the Doug Tallamy research about insects only being able to eat plants that they've co-evolved with. The idea of host plants, that especially butterfly caterpillars can only eat plants that are their host plants. Talking about how they provide nectar and bloom just at the right time. We talk about native bees and why they're important, and why we need bees, how it's important for our food supply. And then going on to why insects are important for the rest of the food web for birds and other wildlife. And why Texas is particularly unique in terms of its role in supporting birds and monarchs in their migration. And then we show two different yards and why, which one would be the best habitat for insects and wildlife. We talk about how native plants are tough, that they don't need a lot of extra water, and they can pretty much grow out of a rock. And we talk about their long roots and how you can help the earth by adding native plants. So we show just a regular yard and one full of life with native plants. I think that's it. So you can take that and take copies of the slides and add them to your own if you want to add additional information, but that's there as a resource. And you just have to click on this image here. So I hope that's helpful. Sorry, I went through that fast, but I didn't think you probably wanted me to give a whole presentation. You can obviously put your own spin on it if you're presenting to kids and make it fun for them. Kids love interactive stuff, you can bring in Gulf fritillary caterpillars on passion vine. Like that's one thing that I brought into the classroom that they thought was really cool. They love trying to look at an image of a queen butterfly versus a monarch butterfly and spot the differences. So you can get kind of creative on how you engage kids, but they're always anxious to learn. So definitely give it a shot.